Welcome to today's deep dive into one of the most pressing issues in the American economy right now: the impact of U.S. tariffs, inflation, and rising household costs. In 2025, tariffs have reshaped the financial landscape, and it's affecting us all. Stay tuned as we explore how these economic shifts are directly impacting American families. In the labyrinth of economic policies that shape our lives, few have had as immediate and far-reaching an impact as the tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. These tariffs, which began to escalate in 2025, have sent ripples across the global economy, affecting everything from supply chains to consumer prices. Yet, the most subtle but profound consequence may be the heavy toll they are exacting on the daily lives of American families. In this story of economic shifts, there is a paradox at the heart of the matter. While tariffs are meant to protect domestic industries and reduce trade deficits, they come with a hidden cost. Despite initial fears that tariffs would spur runaway inflation, the reality has been more complex. As of April 2025, inflation in the U.S. has slowed to 2.3%, defying many early predictions. However, this doesn't tell the whole story. Beneath this surface, the underlying dynamics of consumer behavior, corporate strategy, and international trade policies are quietly steering the ship towards rougher waters, especially when it comes to household budgets. Why inflation slowed on the surface? It seems almost counterintuitive. With tariffs at an all-time high, inflation should be skyrocketing. After all, a tariff is essentially a tax on imported goods, which typically drives up the prices of those goods, leading to higher overall inflation. But instead, inflation in April 2025 moderated to 2.3%. This seemed like a victory for the economic policies that had initially created turmoil. However, this lull in inflation was, in part, a result of an economic stall, a brief window in which companies and consumers alike took certain strategic actions to cushion the blow of these higher tariffs. The most significant of these actions was the strategic stockpiling of goods. Companies, aware of the looming tariffs, had begun buying up large quantities of goods from abroad before the tariffs could be applied. This created an artificial surplus in the marketplace. For consumers, this meant that, at least for a while, the shelves remained stocked with goods at prices that seemed relatively stable. However, as these stockpiles began to dwindle in the second quarter of 2025, a new reality began to set in. Prices would inevitably rise, and consumers would feel the burden in ways that would stretch their household budgets. Rising prices and increasing household burdens. As the stockpiled goods deplete, prices have started to rise, and the full impact of these tariffs will be felt most acutely by American families. It is important to recognize that tariffs on imports are not just abstract economic policies, they are policies that manifest directly in the lives of everyday people. The $2,800 additional cost per household per year is more than just a number. It represents the increased financial strain that many families must now navigate. For most households, this increase in annual costs will come from higher prices for everyday goods. From electronics to clothing, even the simplest products are subject to higher prices as companies face increased costs from tariffs. Goods that were once affordable are becoming out of reach for many families, particularly for those with tighter budgets or lower incomes. What this means is that families are being forced to make tough decisions. Do they continue buying the same level of goods, cutting into their savings? Or do they adjust their lifestyles, buying fewer goods and reducing their standard of living to offset the higher prices? This is a reality that is not easily escaped. Many are finding themselves walking a fine line between maintaining their current lifestyle and adjusting to the financial burden that the new tariff regime has imposed. The impact on everyday life. The economic impact of these tariffs is not limited to the immediate cost of goods. The ripple effect spreads much further. Household budgets are not just affected by the price of consumer goods, but by everything from healthcare to energy costs. As tariffs raise prices on imported goods, the cost of production for American manufacturers also increases. This, in turn, drives up the cost of products made in the U.S., leading to inflation in a broader range of sectors. Take the example of groceries. The price of food is rising due to tariffs on agricultural products imported from other countries. This affects not just the cost of exotic fruits or imported wine, but also the price of everyday staples like meat, vegetables, and grains. This is a direct consequence of higher tariffs on items like steel and aluminum, which increase the cost of manufacturing goods, including food packaging and transportation. The increased cost of energy, too, is a byproduct of tariff-induced inflation. Energy companies that rely on imported goods and equipment are seeing their own costs rise, which translates into higher energy prices for consumers. Families who already struggle with utility bills now face even higher costs to keep their homes running. The strain on American families. For families across the U.S., the effects of these tariffs are more than just a line item in the economic forecast. They represent real, tangible impacts on their quality of life. The $2,800 per year increase in household costs might not seem like much for the wealthier segments of society, but for the average middle-class or low-income household, it can be a significant burden. What many may not realize is that this additional cost compounds other financial pressures that families are already under. Wages have not kept pace with inflation in recent years, leaving many workers feeling financially squeezed. The rise in the cost of living, particularly in urban areas where housing prices and everyday expenses are already high, makes it more difficult for families to save for the future or invest in their children's education. For lower-income households, this financial squeeze means harder choices. Do they sacrifice essentials like health care or transportation to make ends meet? Or do they take on more debt, adding to the mounting financial pressures of credit cards, student loans, and mortgages? The long-term outlook. As we look ahead, the economic outlook remains uncertain. The slowing of inflation in April 2025 is, in many ways, a temporary respite. As businesses run out of their tariff-avoidant stockpiles and the full impact of higher tariffs takes hold, prices will inevitably continue to rise. This creates a precarious situation for American families, particularly those in the middle and lower income brackets, who are most vulnerable to price hikes. The tariffs themselves are not likely to disappear anytime soon. The political will to maintain them is strong, especially as the Trump administration continues to pursue its America First agenda. However, the economic toll they are exacting on households could become a point of political contention in upcoming elections as voters begin to feel the pinch of higher prices and diminished purchasing power. Finding solutions for the future as the U.S. navigates these economic challenges, it is crucial for policymakers to strike a balance between protecting domestic industries and ensuring that the burdens of tariffs do not disproportionately fall on the shoulders of ordinary citizens. While tariffs can play a role in rebalancing trade and supporting domestic manufacturing, they must be carefully calibrated to avoid undermining the economic security of American households. Furthermore, the government must prioritize initiatives that address the underlying causes of rising inequality and stagnating wages. Only by fostering an economy that offers real opportunities for growth and stability to all Americans can we ensure that the burdens of tariffs are shared equitably and do not hinder the aspirations of middle-class families. The cost of economic protectionism. The story of America's tariff policies is a cautionary tale of the hidden costs of economic protectionism. While the idea of protecting domestic industries and reducing trade deficits sounds appealing in theory, the reality is far more complex. The impact on inflation, household budgets, and consumer prices is undeniable, and the true costs are being felt in the everyday lives of American families. As tariffs continue to reshape the economic landscape, it's essential for policymakers to remember the human cost of these policies. For many Americans, the struggle to make ends meet in a world of rising costs and stagnant wages is not just an economic issue, it is a matter of survival. Finding a path forward that supports both economic growth and the well-being of everyday citizens will be the ultimate test for the U.S. economy in the coming years. As we've seen, while the intention behind tariffs may be to protect domestic industries, they come with a high price for American families. The real impact is felt in everyday expenses and household budgets. What can be done to reduce the burden? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, share it with friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on more important economic trends. Also, click the bell icon so you never miss out on future content. Thanks for watching.